Okay, so Mike Johnson had to sit down with Michael Knowles, and he think that he still believed the Republic. He's still confident the Republican are going to expand the majority this midterm. So here,
um, 7 days till term, but who's counting? Typically, in an off year after a presidential election, especially if you win really big like we did last time, you face daunting odds.
Right.
The poll numbers seem to be getting worse. There seems to be a chasm between political reality on the economy, on foreign policy, and everything in between, and perception. Major chasm, widening chasm. How do we fix that in 237?
With a big dose of reality and with a clear message, and we're working on both of those things. The first ingredient is to have great candidates, and we recruited extraordinary people to go flip blue seats to red this cycle. And of course, our incumbents and all those who've been part of the big successes of the last year and a half almost as we go into the election cycle are going to be out talking about their record of success. It truly is promises made and promises kept. I've made the case that the first year of the Trump administration was arguably the most productive and successful in at least the modern era. I think one of the top 5 in the history of Congress, and I'm a student of all this, because of all the substance and the big things that we passed and got it signed into law. Now, there is an incredible media bias, as you know, and the mainstream media, the legacy media, every day literally repeats almost verbatim the talking points of Chuck Schumer and the Democrats, as crazy as they are. And they try to censor and silence our viewpoint in various ways, as you know. And so we've got to break through that and get the reality to the people. So it will be a lot of direct candidate to constituent discussion. They're going to be doing the candidate forums and the town halls and all that to go out and share our message. We gathered here at this work session. This conference over the last couple of days was to talk about how to do that effectively. So look, I'm very bullish about the midterms. I'm absolutely convinced we are going to win the midterms and grow the majority. It will defy the historic trend. It's only twice in the last 90 years that a sitting president has picked up seats for his party in that first 2-year cycle. But I can give you a very boring 90-minute slideshow for all the reasons we're going to win. But it boils down to a record of success, great candidates. We have a fundraising advantage right now because the stakes are so high. Republicans over Democrats, first time in 10 years. Democrats are at historic lows in approval rating. They have no leadership, no message, no vision for where they're going. Their whole platform is they hate Donald Trump. Well, good luck with that. That's not exactly something to sell to constituents. And then we're going into a cycle where the president of the United States, the first midterm in history, where a second-term president who can't be on the ballot again, is running like he's on the ballot himself. It's going to make a big difference, big turnout difference for us. I think in the end, as the economy continues to improve, all of our policies go into effect, I think people are going to feel better about that right about the time they go in to vote.
okay. So um, so when Republican retain the midterm, I might do a live stream laughing. Also, the first woman president, whoever the first woman president would be in 2028, she's going to have access to both chambers of Congress. She's going to have the House and the Senate. And more, I want to move. Okay, now I'm switching to the disingenuous attack on Ben Shapiro. These attacks on Ben Shapiro, I find it disingenuous. People like to bring on Israel when Ben Shapiro criticizes somebody. When he criticized Megyn Kelly, he's criticizing Megyn Kelly specifically for not going after Candace Owens, for attacking Erica Kirk, and for having these conspiracy theories that that it is his will that is okay. I'll retract what I have to say. When Ben Shapiro attacks Megyn Kelly, he's attacking Megyn Kelly specifically about not going after Candace Owen for going after Erica Kirk. He said nothing about his will. And Pierce Morgan, I don't I don't understand why he still got to take shot at Ben Shapiro. I made a video like a day or two ago, and I went through Pierce Morgan's channel. His show still does well, bringing on guests who I am not familiar with or um, I don't watch. So he should stop attacking Ben Shapiro on X. He should just move on. If Ben Shapiro does not want to do his show anymore, so be it. Repa. Okay. So, like I was saying, these attacks are disingenuous. And when I check Ben Shapiro's channel, he talks about what is happening in Iran and he talks about what is happening in America. He doesn't really talk about Israel that much. Even his CPAC speech, he did not mention Israel once. And this is a clip of Ben Shapiro.
And once they run out of arguments, they always fall back on the Israel. Josh said, "Dear Ben, I've been of your adversarial interviews lately, and once they run out of arguments, they always fall back on the Israel issue." Yeah, I noticed that too. I noticed this especially in Megyn Kelly's defense of Tucker Carlson, where she claimed that your issue with him and recently all boiled down to Israel, which I believe is an incorrect characterization. They just find it convenient to blame Israel instead of facing the actual points you are making. My question is, how do you deal with people like this? People that anytime you disagree with them, just say the reason you disagree with them is because of Israel. I like the way Matt Walsh said it, people that are Israel first, but from the opposite direction, meaning the first thing they care about is being anti. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So yes, they're lying. Megyn is lying and so is Tucker. I mean, period. They're just lying. Okay. I started originally criticizing Tucker for his economic programs back in 2018. And then in the more modern post-Fox iteration of Tucker, I started criticizing Tucker over his going to Russia to sniff the bread and kiss Vladimir Putin's ass. My generalized critique of Tucker in the last few months has been, one, he hosted and glossed a Nazi, Nick Fuentes. It doesn't have to do with Israel. It has to do with glazing a Nazi.
This, I do not disagree with Ben Shapiro. But I don't understand the attack on Piers Morgan when he said he would not come to his show because he's bringing on the Nazi adjacent. Piers Morgan, to his credit, he does adversarial interview and he challenged people on their viewpoints. In this 2-hour interview that he had with Nick Fuentes, he challenged Nick Fuentes on his views on women and Hitler and whether Black people commit the most violent crime per capita.
Nick Fuentes. And then I did a speech at Heritage in which I went through the fact that Tucker Carlson is in no way, shape, or form a traditional conservative, that he's a conspiratorial near anarchist at this point, seeking to tear down the fundamental ideas and institutions of the United States. Go watch the Heritage speech. I believe Israel is mentioned once in a 35-minute speech that is all about Tucker's general view of the world and represent traditional conservatism in any way.
And also, one thing I also want to point out, when I check Ben Shapiro's channel, he rarely talk about Israel. So this is Ben Shapiro's channel. He talks about Iran. And his response to Dave Smith, it was about that he think that the United... Hold on one second.
Iran. Many of you, who's head full of Iran spending before the attack on Iran. But now you find yourself tempted to argue that deploying our military to take out the world's leading terrorist regime is just too...
Yeah, so his response to Dave Smith is when he said the United States is the greatest terrorist organization. So that's what Ben Shapiro said.
Expensive. Now, let me suggest why that is wildly disingenuous. Here is the reality. This war will cost far less, because necessarily it will. It's going to be a lot shorter and a lot more contained. This war will cost a lot less than Iraq and Afghanistan.
The last 25 years.
Terror organization in the world, you could apply right now. Plus, ZipRecruiter now, try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire. That's ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Finally, there are the America haters. We've talked about the cowards and the liars, and then there are the people who really, truly hate America. And yes, there are a lot of people who live in America who truly hate America. Now, there's an easy way to tell who hates America. They kind of say it. If you call America a terrorist organization for killing one of the world's most evil dictators, for example, you hate America. That doesn't seem that controversial to me. Call me crazy, but if you say that the United States is the worst terror organization in the world...
So this had nothing to do with Israel. So when people want to go after Ben Shapiro, they need to attack his points, the thing he's actually saying, not bring on, not bring on Israel or and or anti-Semitic um, attack. Ben Shapiro, when he goes, when he went after Megyn Kelly or Candace Owens, he did not say they are anti-Semites.
Megyn Kelly began when, and again, go back and watch the tape on tape, gang. Go back and watch the tape. Megyn wanted me to come and do one of her live events, which we did for free, obviously. It came down as a favor to Megyn because Megyn and I were friendly. And of course, we'd had a long-standing business relationship in which we had really, really helped her launch her business, which she freely admits or admitted at the time. I don't know if she does anymore. She used to have me on her Fox News show sometimes. Now I see she's taking credit for my entire career. Well, congrats, Megyn, I suppose. And see if you're happy about your decisions. I disagree about my career trajectory, but that's fine. If you want to take credit, sure. In any case, my critique of Megyn on the stage was, why don't you call out Candace Owens for implicating Erica in the murder of Charlie Kirk? That was my critique on the stage. And why don't you call out Tucker Carlson for glazing Nick Fuentes, the leading enemy of Charlie Kirk? Because Nick Fuentes hated, despised Charlie Kirk, and the feeling was mutual. That was my critique of Megyn. And then she went on to claim that I was lying about Candace, and that actually Candace was even, quote unquote, defending in her own way Erica Kirk. Well, that didn't age amazing, as it turns out. And then at TPUSA, I called out Candace and Tucker for refusing to call out Candace Owens for what she's doing to Erica Kirk, for refusing to tell the truth on issues and instead programming toward the clicks, for their unique cowardice in making conspiratorial claims without evidence about, say, Jeffrey Epstein and President Trump. I did not mention Israel one time in the TPUSA speech. Zero.
Yep, this is what I'm saying. He doesn't even mention Israel. When he went after Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Tucker Carlson, he did not mention Israel once.
Is the number of times I mentioned Israel. So here's what's actually happening. What's actually happening is that there is a game that has now emerged on this part of the right. The game goes something like this. I don't accuse you of anti-Semitism. You instead claim that I did. And then you say, how dare he call me an anti-Semite? He's trying to cancel me. It's the Jussie Smollett of political claims. You attack yourself, and then you claim that I attacked you as an anti-Semite. That's absurd. I think that Tucker Carlson has fostered anti-Semitism by having on some of the worst anti-Semites in America over and over and over, and then essentially laundering their views. I have never remotely called Megyn Kelly an anti-Semite, nor, by the way, did I call Piers Morgan an anti-Semite. I said that his show is the Jerry Springer of politics, a clown stupidity, and it is. That's all. That's literally all. I didn't say that he should be taken down. I didn't say people should stop watching his show if they want to. I said I did not wish to appear in the clown car of stupidity, which seems to me an aspect of free speech. I don't have to associate with Piers' dumb show. I mean, lots of people like it. Good for him. And Piers measures his morality by clicks, and so I assume he's sleeps fine tonight. That's fine. That's his prerogative. It's a free country. But let's be real. The tactic that's currently being used by all of these figures is a preemptive claim that people are calling you anti-Semitic, and then they say, and I'm not anti-Semitic. Really, they're just mad at me because of Israel. So it's a two-step, none of which is true. I didn't call Megyn anti-Semitic. I didn't call Piers anti-Semitic. I didn't even critique Megyn on her Israel position. In fact, Megyn and I have had many conversations off the air about Israel and the situation in the Middle East, in which I have said to her that I think that many of her critics over her policies on Israel up till now were wrong and misguided. In fact, I said that on her own show. But again, honesty is not a top priority for many of these people. The grift is the priority. The clicks are the priority. I stand by every single word I said at that TPUSA speech. There are an enormous group of people in the commentariat, an enormous number of people in this space whose chief desire is for fame and clicks. That is what they care about. And so their principles morph over time. Now, listen, I don't think Pierce's principles ever morphed. I don't think Pierce had any principles. I think his principle was always clicks. I think that for Megyn, maybe she had principles at one point. I'm not sure anymore. Because again, this would all stop very easily if, for example, Megyn Kelly had the stones to actually just condemn Candace Owens, what she's been doing. That's been my critique for a month, and she still hasn't done it. She said she would die before she did it. That's her principle. Okay. All right. And again, as for Pierce, I'm still bewildered as to why Pierce is so pissed off. Seriously. Stop being a pissy little bitch. Seriously. It's really kind of ridiculous. I said that I don't want to go on your show. Oh, wah. I'm sorry. I said that I think your show's Jerry Springer. That you fill up the...
Yeah, this is what I'm also saying. Piers Morgan should just move on. Like, if Ben Shapiro doesn't want to come to his show, then so be it. But the part where I disagree with Shapiro is the fact that Piers Morgan cares about clicks. That's why he brings on these people. Piers Morgan can do numbers with anybody. Because here, so here, I even said it on X. I mainly watch his show when he has on Michael Knowles, Destiny, Kyle Kalinske, the Young Turks. But Pierce's show still does really well. Owen Schroyer, this is a YouTuber with 51,000 subscribers. And I don't watch Owen Schroyer. So Pierce should stop attacking Ben Shapiro. Should stop taking jab at Ben Shapiro because he refused to come to his show. If he doesn't want to come, so be it. He said that his show is the Jerry Springer of politics. So, who cares? Move on. Pierce, he's still putting up numbers. He can bring on anybody and he will put up numbers. This show, I even said that on X. Hold on one second. So this is what I said on X. No Kyle Kalinske, Young to Destiny, Andrew Tate, Dave Smith. And it had over 200,000 views. And right now, it has over 600,000 views on YouTube. This video. And I didn't even, so here. over 600,000 views. So Piers Morgan is still doing well without bringing big content creator. So I think Piers Morgan should stop attacking Ben Shapiro because his show is still thriving without him.
The screen with a 6 box of people, none of whom to talk to in a cafe. And then you have them argue with each other, yell at each other, and scream. You have Cenk Uyghur with his head blowing up like loon.
Yeah, I still think Ben Shapiro is a coward when it comes to debating Kyle Kalinske. And I'm still standing by it. And I give Michael Knowles credit for debating Kyle Kalinske and getting bodied.
On the air, next to Norman Finkelstein, next to whatever kook you found on a street corner, next to maybe one legitimate person.
Yeah, that a legitimate person is Kyle Kalinske. Out of all the lefty who came on Piers Morgan show, who did a good job, I would say it was Kyle Kalinske.
And then you're like, this is a solid debate. I love. Okay, you want to do that? That's your choice, my dude. You can, but I don't understand why it's not my choice to say I don't wish to participate in your dumb show, and why that somehow represents censorship. That is not censorship. You don't have to come on my show. I don't have to come on your show. Nobody has to go on anybody's show. And I'm not saying that people can't watch your show or that you should be deplatformed. The expansion of censorship to include I'm not allowed to somehow criticize Megyn Kelly for her cowardice, and she's a coward, or that I'm not allowed to criticize Piers Morgan for being a click whore, and yes, he's a click whore, or that I'm not allowed to criticize.
Oh shoot! I accidentally closed it. Whatever. My bad. I accidentally closed the tab.
Cenk Uyghur with his head blowing up like a red balloon on the air, to Norman Finkelstein, next to a kook you found on a street corner, next to maybe one legitimate person. And then you're like, this is a solid debate. I love. Okay, you want to do that? That's your choice, my dude. You can. I don't understand why it's not my choice to say I don't wish to participate in your dumb show, and why that somehow represents censorship. That is not censorship. You don't have to come on my show. I don't have to come on your show. Nobody has to go on anybody's show. And I'm not saying that people can't watch your show or that you should be deplatformed. The expansion of censorship to include I'm not allowed to somehow criticize for her cowardice, and she's a coward, or that I'm not allowed to criticize Piers Morgan for being a click whore, and yes, he's a click whore, or that I'm not allowed to criticize Tucker Carlson for being a nut because he's being a nut, and that somehow these critiques amount to a campaign of cancellation or censorship. That's weird to me. One final note here. I saw that Megyn yesterday suggested that I'm in a mood to just throw people out of the conservative movement. People like Piers. Piers Morgan was never a conservative. What the hell are you talking about? My entire point at the Heritage Foundation speech that I did last December, and again, go back and listen to it, was any movement must have ideological borders. If people reflect views that are not inside those borders, they are not in the movement. And they certainly are not leaders of the movement. They can be fellow travelers. They can vote however they want. It's a free country. But the fact that Megyn is considering Piers, quote unquote, part of the conservative movement is astonishing. Piers holds almost zero seriously conservative positions. But, I guess that they've locked arms because it's all about the clicks, baby.
Yeah. So that was a good point. So So the point is, Piers Morgan should just let it go. Because this show still does good. Yeah. But I still view Ben Shapiro as a coward. He's a coward when it comes to debating Kyle Kalinske. Even with the minimal interaction that Ben Shapiro had with Kyle Kalinske, Ben Shapiro got bodied. Okay, hold on. I'm just going to look for it. Yeah. So here, the only time they ever interacted, Ben Shapiro said that he was 18, and he has consistently and disowned his views on why. Because when Ben Shapiro was in college, he wrote one of these articles why the Iraq War was good, and Kyle Kalinske showed a screenshot of when he was 21, an article that he wrote why the Iraq War is good. This is the only time they ever interacted. Ben Shapiro, even though I agree with him about Piers Morgan and Megyn Kelly, his attack had nothing to do with Israel. And when I've checked his channel, he rarely talks about Israel. It still does not change the fact that he's a coward when it comes to debating Kyle Kalinske. Because Kyle Kalinske, he can match him in intellect. Yeah. So so Pierce and but it's what it is. So Piers Morgan, like I was saying, he should just let it go. Stop being triggered by Ben Shapiro. He said this shows the Jerry Springer of politics. He doesn't want to do a show. It is what it is. Because Piers Morgan still he's still putting up numbers with anyone he brings on his show. Okay, I think I'm just going to end the stream. That's what I wanted to talk about. Ben Shapiro did not mention Israel once in any of his attack on Megyn Kelly and Candace Owens or or Piers Morgan. He just doesn't like the fact that Megyn Kelly does not go after Candace Owens. Megyn Kelly should just be like, I don't give a crap. I don't want to go after Candace Owens. And Piers Morgan should continue doing his show. I will continue to watch it. I will mainly watch it when he brings on content creator who I am familiar with. Kyle Kalinske, the Young Turks, the Majority Reports, and so forth. But if there is days or weeks he does not bring them on, I still think his show will do pretty well. His last video did pretty good. And I will show that again. It had over 669,000 views. No Kyle Collins. Okay.
Acid.
No Kyle Kalinske. No Young Turks. No Anna Kasparian, Zenk Huger, Dave Smith. No Ben Shapiro, Brendan Tatum, and so forth. And it had over 600,000 views. This is how Piers Morgan should have responded to Ben Shapiro. He should have just showed his YouTube numbers with videos that does not involve these characters, the Zankuger, the Kolinsky, and it still does well. Now, Yeah, I don't know why he needs to do all of this. Who cares? He should just let her go. That's all I gotta say.